Cassandra, and I'm a Homeworks by Precept consultant and a mom of 10 children. I'd like to do a walkthrough of the new Focus on Fives from BJU Press, Homeschool, and for the parent-led, why the teacher edition is so important. And I want to go through the teacher edition with you to just kind of do a walkthrough. So the new Focus on Fives has 6 teacher editions that are all the same size as this. There's 6 of them. You say, why 6? Because they put them in smaller books. If you had all of the material that you needed in 1 or 2 volumes, it would be huge. And so I appreciate the fact that they put them in a smaller hand size. So when I teach my child parent-led homeschooling, I don't have to have this huge book. All right, so the first one I want to focus on obviously would just be part 1. There's part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, part 6. They're all set up the same way. Nothing is any different. It just has all the lessons in it from 1 all the way to the end in part 6. All right, so we'll look at part 6 too, but the format is exactly the same. And like I said, it's because it's in a smaller way, we can hold it better. And I appreciate that. So why the teacher edition? The teacher edition is going to tell you why we do what we do. I have been teaching kindergarten now for 14 years. I started when my oldest son, who graduated a couple years ago, not my oldest son, but the first one that we started homeschooling, which would have been child number 5. I did 5 with kindergarten, and then this next year I will be doing the new Focus on Fives with my youngest child in kindergarten. So I have loved this curriculum. My children have learned to read it, but the teacher edition is essential if you're doing parent-led. So let's look at some of the goals that you would have. One of the things I love about this curriculum is, the number one thing I love about it is the biblical worldview themes. They even teach that in kindergarten, and there's 4 of them. And this is going to be learned all throughout. And in the teacher edition, it shows you when to bring up what. Obviously, everything we do should be through the lens of the Word of God. It's very, very important, even starting at the age of 4 and 5 and 6 years old. The first biblical worldview they're going to look at is God is great and God is good. In our society today, that is a very, very important concept. The next one is God is the one that has created all of these things. The third one is the Bible is God's word and it is absolutely true, essential truth. The fourth one is, I think another really important one is I learn in order to serve God and others. In other words, why do I need to learn? Well, I need to learn and go to school so I can serve other people and serve God. So if I'm going to grow up and be a doctor, all right, how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to serve other people, and I learned that through school. And as I'm serving other people, I'm going to be serving God and obeying Him. I can do it on the mission field. I could do it as a layman in my church and serving people as a doctor. So everything we learn, starting even in kindergarten, is important, and we want to see everything through the biblical worldview. That is taught in kindergarten. Another one of the things that's really important that's taught is a critical thinking. In this teacher edition, it will ask questions in the teacher edition, and I'll kind of show you that in a minute. Comprehension questions. In kindergarten, yes, absolutely in kindergarten. We already went through the readers, but in the readers, as they're reading them, you ask them questions. In the teacher edition, and if you look at the edition real quick, I'll have the camera look at it. One of the things is it sets the stage for comprehension-centered reading. And comprehension is super important for children, not just what does it say, but why does it say that? And then you'll see they call it high-order thinking questions. So this goes beyond just what color is the apple. Well, the book said the apple is red. All right, so the child says the apple is red. Who owns the apple? Well, the apple is owned by Jane, because the book said Jane has an apple. Well, the high order question would go beyond that. Why does Jane have an apple? Well, it didn't actually say it. but it implies it. So those are high order thinking questions. Those questions are already asked for you in the teacher edition, and you will see a gear symbol next to those questions. Those are going to help your child think a little bit more deeply for comprehension. So it's another reason, one of the goals for the children in learning. Another reason why I like the focus on fives and why I think that the teacher edition is so important is because it provides a lot of different ways just to learn. As a homeschooler, we have the opportunity of not just having our child just teach them and they hear us. They get to touch it, they get to feel it, and that is important because when you have fine motor skills, you can use games, you can use motor skills, you can use all of these different techniques, all the senses. You can sing, they can hear it read to them, they can read it themselves, they can touch it, they can jump when they learn. All of these games and things are incorporated in the teacher edition. So now let's actually look at the teacher edition itself and look at some different things that are in here. One of the things that I think is really, really wonderful for parents that are teaching this is I want you to, if you look at it's called a lesson plan overview. All right, so the lesson plan overview, this is something that I would laminate, I would copy this, and I would put it in a notebook because it's going to tell you everything that you need to do every day. So let's take, for instance, lesson 2. Like lesson 2 is going to go to, it's going to tell you what page you're going to be on in the teacher edition. It's going to tell you what work text page the child is going to do. And for your work text, that's this book right here. All right, what's going to tell you what page they're going to be on for this. What page at the phonics practice book, and that is this book right here. All right. And then these are the objectives that are in the class. This is what they're going to be learning that day. So let's just open up one of the lessons. So let's talk about police officers. One of my daughter's favorite, one of my children's favorite was the police officer lesson. So let's go to lesson 11. Every unit is going to be by different weeks, and there's 5 days in a unit. And so this particular unit is going to be talking about police officers, our friends, and then you'll have the reader. Remember I had said earlier that there are 5 lessons. So lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th lesson is when you're going to be doing your reading. And this, for this particular one, lesson 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, you're doing the reader. All right, so every 5th day you're doing the reader. That it talks about that in the teacher edition. So anyway, let's go to lesson 11. All right. So lesson 11 is on page 84. So I'm going to go there. All right. So this unit, particular week 3, is going to be talking about police officers who are friends. So in the teacher edition, it incorporates Bible, history, spelling, handwriting, science. It's a full curriculum for your kindergartners, focus on 5s. These are the different things that's going to be happening in your lesson. So let's go to the lesson 11. All right, so they're going to heritage studies. Here's your objectives. They're going to be talking about police officers. And then you're going to use your visuals. So this is your visual flip chart. That's what they're referring to here. You're going to sing a song. And this particular song is important because all your songs that you need are in the back of your teacher edition. Every single volume has this in the teacher edition, has all the songs. So this song that they want is Friends Around the Town. So you would find that song, Friends Around the Town, which happens to be right here. Riding in the engine red, wearing helmets on their head. Okay, there's songs for everything. So that would be that. Then it's going to tell you, they're going to talk about safety and seat belts. All right. Now, you'll notice that there are blue words and then there are pink words or red words, depending on what color you're looking at. Okay. The blue words, why are police officers our friends? That's what you say. So nice. And then the pink would be what the child would probably want to answer. God gave them to us to keep us safe. They care about our safety. So you don't really have to do too much studying for this teacher edition because it has it laid out. I like to call it the teacher edition for dummies because it tells you exactly what to say. When they're doing a listening story, this is the story that you're going to read to them. And then remember I talked about comprehension, critical thinking questions. So that's what these are. Look, so here is the question. This is a normal question. This is a what question. The answer is in the listening story. But then you have this little gear here. Remember, that's a higher thinking question. That's like, hey, because this was here, what do you think about this? All right, those are deeper thinking questions, and those are good. Start it from the very beginning. That's what I love about this curriculum, helps them to think. And then this is going to tell them the work text page that they're going to need, and that goes with your work textbook. Then you're going to have a phonics and English skill, your letter recognition, you sing your songs. It tells you everything you need to do, how you're going to teach handwriting, what work text page you need to do for the phonics. And remember, you're only going to do one page for phonics and one page for your work text page. So really 2 pages a day, that's it. There's not a lot of seat work, not a lot of homework. Very simple, one day at a time, line upon line, precept upon precept. So that's a kind of a walkthrough of the Part 1 Teacher Edition. Now, let's look at what's in the back of your Teacher Edition. All right, and remember I said that all the teacher editions are laid out identical. It just has, take for instance, Part 5, all right? So for your Part 5, it's laid out identical to Part 1. So you're still going to have, at the very beginning, it's going to have your lesson plan overview. And this lesson plan is 111 because that's what Part 5 starts with, all right? So it's the very same layout as the first one, and all of them are like this. It's just a smaller format. So let's go to the back. And the back is all laid out the same, all right? For your teacher resources, they're going to have the gospel explained, all right? This is in every teacher edition, the same section. So you don't have to go back to the first one because you're in the last Part 4. Okay, let's say you're in Part 4. Okay, that is in here too in the back. So you don't have to go back and forth editions. Everything you need is in that edition for that part, for that section that you're on. Precursive handwriting strokes. Again, this is in all of the different Part 1, Part through Part 6, all in there, so you have to go back and forth. Then you'll have all your alphabet songs. This is Part 1, okay? So if you go in to Part 6, the alphabet songs are identical, so you don't have to go back and forth. Now what is different in every one is these are the pages that your child is going to need for extra instructional aids or extra things that they ask. Okay, that is in the back here. Obviously that's different with Part 6 because Part 6 is going to have what they need for those lessons. Okay, and then if you keep going, you're also going to notice, and this is another thing that's very important about the Focus on Fives. One of the things they do is to teach the children how to write and how to think and to write it on paper. They start at the very beginning. This is creative writing number 2. So you see it's blank. They're going to color on this. But as you go through this, you'll see that there's a lot of writing going on. Okay, all of those writing things are back here for your child. And one of the things the first son that I did Focus on 5 or kindergarten, hopscotch, whatever you want to call it back in the day, when I started in 2006, I used BJU Press Kindergarten. And one of the things that taught him right away is how to write. By the time he was in first grade, he was putting his thoughts on paper. And then now he's in college and he knows how to write papers really well, because from the very beginning it taught him not only how to think, but to put it down on paper. They do that starting in kindergarten, and they make it a lot of fun. So another reason why you need the teacher edition, to know how to do that. Okay, so one more thing that's in the teacher edition is, remember we talked about in your books, let's get this here, in the back of your books here, remember we talked about these are the checkup stations. This is where your children are going to, at the end of different sections, your teacher edition will show you the test that they take to see how they're doing. The answer key for that is in the teacher edition. All right, so checkup station number 1 is in part 1 of your teacher edition, and you'll notice that it tells you what to say and what to do. That's station 1. All right, and then you'll have other ones. So let's look at part 2. Your checkup station is in here for the next one. Checkup station 2A, checkup station 2B. All right, so those are important tests. All right, one more thing that I want to note that I think it's important that's coming out of your teacher edition. It's going to have what they call, there, phonics stories. And I don't want you to be confused. Where are these phonics stories? All right, these phonics stories are in the phonics practice book. All right, in the back of your phonics practice book. All right, so if you go to the back, this is where your phonics stories are going to be. When they reference them, all right, they're not going to be in your teacher edition. They will reference them in the teacher edition, show you how to teach it. But this is the phonics stories that they're talking about. And I'll do a close-up so you can see it a little bit more. But they're all here. And they're in, again, the phonics practice book. They're not in the work text. That's important to note. So people say to me, oh, I don't need the teacher edition. Yes, you do, because they have done all the hard work for this. And especially if you're doing parent-led, you absolutely need it. And I just love it. Don't be overwhelmed by having 6 books. All right, just put them all on the shelf and start with page 1, number 1 for part 1. Okay, and you'll be all set. So I hope that was helpful, doing a walkthrough for the teacher edition. And reach out to any Homeworks by Precept consultants if you have any questions. We are moms who have done this curriculum, and we may not have all the answers, but we might have a way of figuring it out because we've done this before. All right, thanks for watching.